I'm an old man, you see. That's what happens. He'll end up in the same place as me, but he'll look as old as me.
Yeah, but the thing about being old like you is that, you know, you've got this wealth of experience, you know, which you can give to young guys like us, and we'll say, oh, how did you do this? How did you do that? You know, you'll be able to guide us, you know, so that we don't make same mistakes that you made. So that's the whole essence.
Indeed.
Yes. So that's the whole essence of this podcast, you know, AskDproS Business, is to speak to business owners like you that would sort of like suggest ways of, you know, career part, you know, business part, you know, things you've done that have worked for you, because a lot of people tend to just, you know, dive into things that you don't really know and you just carry on. You start, like me, for instance.
Absolutely.
I started this podcast based on, like, you know, I've always loved business, grew around the family of business, you know, and I just want to be in that environment and speak to business people as well, you know. So I dove into it, not even thinking about it, like, you know, where is this getting me? You know, I just got up and I just entered it. But now I've been here for a while now, and I'm meeting guys like you, you know, trying to, you know, give your own opinion, your journey, you know, what you've been through, success stories as well, you know. So in a way, trying to pave that path for us to follow. You understand? So which is good. You know, I love that.
I'm entirely with you on that case. And there's lots of things that I do with businesses like yours to do that, mentoring and all sorts of things. So, but I need you to make mistakes I didn't make. So new mistakes. Otherwise, the world won't change. There's no point in you making the same mistakes as me.
Yeah.
I've used up my life doing that. Let's make sure you don't.
Yes, but I mean, we gotta innovate. On this note, I welcome you to AskDproS Business, you know, where we speak to business owners like you know, people that also like guide other businesses as well, business owners as well, so that they don't make, you know, same mistakes that we've made. Like you said now, you know, make new mistakes, you know, in a way of innovating as well. Yeah, I've got Barnaby here. Barnaby is an author, he's a speaker, you know, and he's also a brand owner as well, a marketer. You know, and Barnaby is going to tell us his journey, share a bit of his journey with us, his story, you know, what he's been through and how he plans to move forward his company and, you know, and his advice to us as well. So Barnaby, welcome to AskDproS Business.
It's a real pleasure to be here.
Yeah, nice.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, nice. So like I always do on this show, you know, we always start from the beginning, you know, so starting from the beginning means, you know, telling us a bit about you, you know, how you started, you know, how you got in the game, you know, of marketing, being the mentor that you are as well.
So, bear with me because it goes back a little bit, but I did psychology as a degree in Dundee University way back in the early 80s, and decided I wanted to go into advertising as a result of that. So after I left university, I did a postgraduate diploma in advertising. It was going a bit slow, so I did another one in marketing as well. So I did two at the same time. So I got two postgraduate diplomas and went into the advertising industry, started working for nothing for a big advertising agency. And from that, I got a job in an agency in Farringdon in London to launch a thing called the Fiat Ducato, the Fiat Fiorino. I also worked on Weber carburetors, Saab Scania trucks, and a thing called RJ car leasing down in Bournemouth. And I took on my first mentor because I thought that would be a really good idea after I've been in business about 8 months. And I've now got 3, even at this age, I've still got 3 mentors. I've had a mentor my whole career. And I sat down with him and I said, you know, so what happens? And he said, well, let's have a look at your CV. And he said, oh, if you want a career in advertising, in automotive advertising, you've got a fantastic CV to start that. And I said, oh, great. And I said, what else is there? And he said, well, what you can do is you can work across lots and lots of different types of business, learn about how business works, and maybe later on in your career, you'll be able to help businesses grow and build. I said, oh, okay, that sounds really interesting. Which one should I do? And he said, well, I am right in saying that you own a Vespa scooter and a VW Beetle Cabriolet. Is that correct? And I said, yes, I do. And I still own both today. And he said, you are not a motorhead. He said, don't go down the automotive route. He said, it's become what is now commonly known as a specialist generalist. So what we did is after I'd been at the first agency for 18 months, I went to one of the world's largest agencies called Ogilvy & Mather to work on Ford. It was the only way I could use my CV to get into a big agency. And I relaunched the Ford Sierra and the Ford Granada. And whilst I was at Ogilvy, I managed after 4 years to persuade the team there, the management there, to let me work on other things. So I ended up launching Argos, and Radion washing detergent. And before I left Ogilvy, a thing called Lipton Ice Tea worldwide. So we launched that. I left there after 6 years because they moved from central London to Canary Wharf, and Canary Wharf was only in phase 1 and it was completely empty and it was not a great place to be. So I moved back into Soho, into a smaller agency there where I launched Boots Opticians, Red Stripe Lager, which you should know nothing about, Kez, and I worked on the Woodpecker Cyber Account, and I launched Eurostar and various other internet brands. After 3 years, I got headhunted to another agency to launch Toshiba Home Cinema, work on Sunday Express, and launched a thing called First Telecom, which was the first alternative to BT. And whilst there, I got headhunted to become the youngest managing director of a top 200 advertising agency. So we're talking 1999 now. So where I then took charge of an agency, rather weirdly, back in Farringdon, where I started my career. And I launched E-Trade and Deutsche Post and all sorts of other brands. We had 60 clients at the time. So I was the youngest MD. And I bought that company then in June 2001 because the owners retired, and relaunched and won the Marie Curie Cancer Care account. And as a result, were then completely flummoxed by September the 11th. And we had to reformat the whole business. And in 2002, we embarked on a journey to create what we thought would be the formula for marketing success. We did this, it took we planned it for 6 months. And we got a team of 25 people working across everything on marketing to create this formula for marketing success. And we completed that job 7 years later, Kes, 7 years.
Wow.
In 2009, we had created the formula for marketing success. But what we'd also learned is you didn't need a fancy 6-floor building in central London with studios and meeting rooms, because actually most of the people we were working with at the time were freelancers, because as full-time employees retired or moved on or just did something else, we replaced them with freelancers. So I had 2 employees, myself and 30 freelancers in a building that was costing me £330,000 a year. So I decided to spend a year and move the whole process to the cloud. And in 2010, I pushed out on my own and run now a network of associated brand bucket people who effectively help me deliver whole brand programs to big corporates. So I do about 5 or 6 of those a year. And I work directly with the business leaders to completely change their systems and processes so they become marketing led. But as you said, I also mentor. I'm currently mentoring 19 business leaders, always room for more. I have been a professional speaker since 2007. But of course, there's no speaking going on at the moment. There's no live events. So that side of the business is obviously very quiet at the moment, although I'm doing a lot of podcasts and a lot of online keynotes and things like that. But I'm a keynote speaker on how marketing has fundamentally changed. I do write books, and I work as a NED, so non-exec director on a couple of businesses as well. So yeah, I've got this fantastic portfolio now of different aspects of doing essentially the same thing, which is helping people make their brand famous.
Yeah, Barnaby, nice one, man. Love that, man. Seeing that you've been way back, man. Have a very nice portfolio, like you said, and your experience as well, very, very, very wild experience, and in terms of branding, and because you've gone from different brands, in recent times till now, in terms of building a brand and coming up with the right name and the right whole scenario, the right environment, how does that fit with you branding? Because you've been through so many organizations now, and I know that you probably have it, to tell us about when it comes to branding.
Yes. So the first thing that I think is worth making clear is there is a big difference between what I do and what branding is. So I'm a brand expert, not a branding expert. So let me just explain what the difference is. See, a brand is effectively an asset of a business. In fact, we came up with a definition of this when we were coming up with a formula. So we define brand as every experience that affects the relationship between a product or service and its buyer. So it's every experience that affects the relationship between a product or service and its buyer. That's what a brand is. So in other words, everything in your business is brand. So the way you answer the phone, the way you write your emails, the way you engage people, the way your reception is, the way your shop is laid out, the way you manage the back of your van, the way you uniform people, the way you write your contracts, everything is about your brand. Branding is simply how you label that. So branding is possibly your logo, could potentially be your look and feel, your colorways, your style, your typography. That's kind of branding. So that's often done by, when I get to the branding phase of any project that I do, I give that to a creative agency and I work with them. So the difference between, if you're going to start a business, if you're going to come up with a name, often what people do is they sort of dig around and they come up with fancy names and they mix their name up and they make up words, and then they kind of go on the internet to see if the web address is available, and if it is, then that becomes their name, because that gets more difficult. Well, the challenge with that is it's not rooted in any meaning. Okay, so what you really need to be doing before you do anything when you start a business is defining your business story. What it is that you're going to do that's going to make a difference to the people who buy from you. And we call that in our formula a value proposition. And every value proposition is unique, so it becomes a unique value proposition. And there used to be a thing called a USP. I don't know if you've ever come across that. Or
yeah, unique selling point.
Yeah. So they died in 1995. There has been no such thing as a USP since 1995. And the reason for that is because of a thing called the internet, which arrived in 1995. Because now, if anybody thinks they've got a USP, they should try typing it into Google. And if there are no other results come up on the front page, then you've got a USP. But I can assure you that it doesn't matter what you type into Google, there will be thousands, if not millions, of websites that would claim to have something similar to you. They may or they may not, but actually they would have something similar to you. So the challenge you've got is, I, as a buyer, can't really tell whether you're unique or not, and whether you have a unique selling point. So forget unique selling points, forget unique selling propositions. What you need is a unique value proposition. And that really is a set of values that combine really critical things. 4 sets of values, really, and they all begin with B, fun enough, it's part of our formula. The first thing you've got to define is, what's your behavioral style? What are the values that make up your behavioral style? Because they inform people on the type of relationship that you're going to have. And we buy from people we like, so you've got to define what you are like for people to like. Otherwise, and that's the first thing you've got to do. The second thing you've got to do is you've got to define your benefits. So what it is how you're going to make a difference to people. You must define that right at the beginning. Often people are very good at coming up with the features of their business, but very, very rarely do they spend time coming up with the benefits. The third set of values you've got to do is you've got to define what you want people to believe about you after they've interacted with you. It's informed by Stephen Covey, who wrote a book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And his first rule is be proactive. His second rule is begin with the end in mind. You must always begin with the end in mind. What do you want people to believe? And then the final thing you need to come up with is, what do you want to be famous for? Now, until you've got those keys, you can't begin to design your brand, because whatever it is you come up with has got to help people understand what your behavioral style is, what your benefits are, what your beliefs, what you want people to believe, and what you want to be famous for. And until you've got that, there's no point in trying to come up with a name. Otherwise, all you end up is with a name that you've got to spend a lot of time and energy and money and marketing effort convincing people why your name was any good in the first place. Whereas if you start with your value proposition and say, now we need a name that helps tell our value proposition, then that's really cool then. So.
Yeah, cool, Barnaby. So invariably, you're just saying whatever you want to be or do as an entrepreneur, you just start. Yeah, instead of overthinking things and trying to just make everything perfect. What are you saying invariably now is just to start, and as you go along, you start putting the blocks together, right?
I would no. I think if before I started a business, I would do three things. I would define my value proposition, and this is what I do with the startups I work with. What's their value proposition? What's their story that they're going to tell to the outside world that's going to make a difference to people? Their value proposition. The second thing they should define is who exactly do they want to attract to their business. So what does a prospect look like? Because the marketing industry, my industry, will defraud the startup people out of all of their money very quickly by saying, oh, you've got to go networking and you've got to do this email blast and you've got to do your SEO and you've got to build an amazing website and you've got to do all this stuff. And suddenly the poor old startup entrepreneur has spent any money that they've saved on stuff that is just broadcasting out their message. That you really shouldn't be doing that. You should only be attracting. The third thing you must do before you start a business is write a business plan. Now, I don't mean a 60-page, life work that you present to an investor or to the bank. I mean a one-page business plan which lays down some very, very simple things. And the simple things are, how much time are you going to spend on your business? How many products and services are you going to sell? And what are you going to sell it for? Because unless you have that, you have no way of judging whether any of the work you're doing is going to be taking you towards an endpoint where your business is going to make money. And I have to tell you, 80% of businesses that fail do not have a business plan. And 80% of businesses that are successful do have a business plan. It is a fundamental, you do at least a minimum requirement to say, okay, I've got 12 months. I'm going to have 2 of those off because I'm going to have holidays and weddings and various other things. So let's work to a 10-month. I'm going to sell 1,000 products at 1,000, at £100 each. Yeah. So therefore I'm going to make £100,000. I'm going to do that in 10 months, which means I'm going to do that £1,000 a month, or £10,000 a month. So I'm going to sell 10 products. You've got to go through that discipline. And then when you're building your marketing, you're building your brand, you design it around the 10 or the 100 or 1,000 people that you're going to attract to your business. That's all you need to do. And then you build a marketing plan that says, I am going to go where the people who are going to buy from me are. And then I'm going to look amazing in front of them. If you don't do that basic fundamental groundwork, it's like building a house without foundations. You must have a business plan. You must have a value proposition. And you must really identify who your buyer is going to be. Otherwise, you'll just waste your time and energy talking to everybody and anybody and getting nowhere.
Yeah. I haven't said that yet. When you listen to a lot of speakers and a lot of people in business as well, they tend to, have oppose, what you just said now, saying that you need a business plan. Most of them tell you you don't really need one because all you need to do is just to start. And once you start, things start getting clearer to you, But in contrary to that, now you said it another way, which I sort of, which I sort of like understand and agree with you as well, because before you start a building, you need a foundation. Without the foundation, the building is going to collapse, right? Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And listen, I appreciate people have different viewpoints and they're fully entitled to that. But only 19% of businesses make their 5th birthday. 81% of businesses fail in the first 5 years. I'm telling you, the evidence that I've seen over the last 35 years is failure is down to not having a good understanding of their business plan.
Cool. Going back to what you just said, a couple of minutes ago, about people buy from people, they buy from people they like, Now, looking at the way you got into marketing years back, to now, because now I'm getting into cold calling, trying to just get people to buy, hard selling. In in regards to building relationships in business, what's your take on that between the two of them? Because you mentioned about people buy from people they like. Do they need to go into relationship with them, or you just hard selling all the way through?
No, okay. I think it's a great question. So, I mean, clearly a lot has changed in the 30 years that I've been in the industry. In fact, we've gone through two marketing phases. We were in marketing 4.0, and when I came into the industry, we were in marketing 2.0. So when I came into the industry, it's hard to believe there were 4 TV channels, 2 took advertising, and only 1 was received by everybody nationally. So there were 9 national newspapers that everybody read. There was no internet, no mobile phones, no nothing. So the way businesses used to inform people of their new products is they would shout at them through television advertising, or through the newspapers and the magazines. What happened when the internet arrived is the buyer came in control, and what buyers suddenly realized is they didn't have to just swallow what brand owners said. So brand owners in those days would just tell us what we were going to buy. We had no choice. There was very little choice, and actually people built image dimensions around their business that were reflected what the business owner thought, and the business owner could do that because it was their money and they could do what they like. So they just shouted at everybody and said, "You will buy from me because you've got no choice." When the internet arrived, everybody went, "Hold on! When I go into the search engine, I find you're not the only choice anymore." So buyers started to think, actually, do you know what? I don't have to just buy from you. So they started to look at, and what we found from the research, they started to look at all the choices and they go, I kind of like that one more than I like that one. So they would go and buy from them. And then they put up with the same sort of rubbish, get shouted at by those brands. What we found in the research when we were reconfiguring the formula for marketing success is a new dimension. And the new dimension was, not only do we buy from people we like, but we buy from people like us. Because actually there's so much choice now that actually you can look at all the different brand offerings and go, I'm going to go with those people because they're like the way I see my life. It's a value exchange. The way I want to run my life is consistent with them. So you see brands like Patagonia and all those brands that have real ethical backgrounds. You then see the big corporates that have no ethical background, the big banks that have no ethical background. We use them because we like them. But then we see online versions coming up, which we go, well, we prefer that because that fits with my mobile phone lifestyle, whatever. So we buy now from brands that are like us as much as we like them. Now, what that means is that all of the power sits with the buyer now. And what's very different about marketing today is the brand power sits with the buyer. Whereas when I came into the industry, the brand power sat with the brand owner, not the buyer. And that's been a complete reverse of the power base. So what you have to do now, if you're a business, is you have to build relationships in an entirely different way. And the way you do that is by building value into the relationship right from the off, right from the beginning, because everybody that people need to run their business is probably right online, right now, looking for them. Everybody they need in their business plan. And if you look at your business plan, you'll probably find you only need 50 buyers or 100 buyers or 1,000 buyers. It's not that, those numbers are not big. I guarantee that there are 100 to 1,000 people online on a keyboard typing into a search engine, I'm looking for, I need help with, I have this challenge. So what you have to do with marketing today is you have to be engaging and bring people who are already inbound into your business. So where I started my career, it was all about outbound marketing. It is now all about inbound marketing. So in other words, there are people looking for every single product or service right now online somewhere in the world. So what you've got to do is you've got to create a pathway to your business that is really valuable, easy to follow, and enables people to come to your door and buy from you because you're nice to buy from. And there's a whole strategy that sits behind that. That is fundamentally different now to what a lot of brand people, a lot of marketing people, a lot of broadcast media people are talking about. And they have got it fundamentally wrong. The trick is now just to create value in the market. People find you and go, I really like these people. They like me and they provide me value right from the outset. And I'm going to go and build a relationship with them.
Yeah, good, like that. Well, you just mentioned something about creating value now, giving value. Sometimes would you think, it's good to, put things out there for free? You're creating value as well, give out free, like if you, like now you're an author, mentor as well, you can, would you say when you want to create that value, it helps when you put out content out for free, giving out free stuff, would that help in creating value for your business?
Yeah, so I'm absolutely certain that you should be providing value in the market for people to use. Whether it's free or not is a moot point. But I think the critical thing is you should give away your value. But you do it in such a way, and you have to do it in a very, very clever way. You do it in such a way is it builds the relationship to a point where people want that relationship so much that you can then, because you're giving away stuff, you can then remove it. So I can't keep giving you this free. I'm not a charity. I'm not a not-for-profit. I can't give it. So you remove it from them. They go, no, don't remove it. I'm using this. And you go, no, I have to. I can't complete. And they go, no, please don't take it. I say, I'm really sorry. I can't keep doing this for nothing. They said, no, but please don't take it. I've integrated it into the way I do things. It's part of my life. It's you can't take it away. I go, I'm really sorry. I don't know. Oh, I do have one idea. And they go, well, what is it? What is it? And they said, you give me money and I shall carry on giving you this stuff. And they go, yes, of course. Why didn't I think of that? And then they give you money. So what you've got to do is you've got to make sure. So the critical thing about giving stuff away is you should only give stuff away that only you do. So I don't mean, let's just give Kit Kats to everybody who logs onto my website for just free stuff. That's got no bearing on what I promise people in any shape or form. So what you've got to do is you've got to make sure that you give away things that are from your value proposition. Now, the other thing that's worth bearing in mind, and I think there's a sort of inherent fear in this, most information is available on the internet. No matter what you do, somebody can get something like that on the internet, whether it's through YouTube, whether it's advice, whether it's on Google, whether it's on Amazon, it doesn't matter. It is very unusual for people, the things that for people to sell are not to be available somewhere else on the internet. So you are not really selling a product and you're not really selling a service. You're selling something far more important to you and me as human beings. You are selling time. So what you're doing, Case, is you're drawing on my lifetime's experience. Yeah. And that's going to save you time having to spend the equivalent of my lifetime learning what I've learned. So what I'm actually selling you is time. So what I need to convince you and anybody else who works with me is that when you ask me a question, anything to do with business, anything to do with marketing, I have the quick answer that allows us to move forward quickly. And if I become somebody you can rely on for doing that, you're going to pay for me to be in your back pocket so that you can say, anytime I need some help on brand, or I need some help on marketing, or I need some help on business growth, or I need some help on just my business per se, I'm going to go to a guy who's launched 570 brands, sat on 26 boards, has helped raise money. I'm going to go to that guy, yeah, because he sat in my back pocket, because I pay him to be in my back pocket. And then I pull him out and I say, there you go, Barnaby, here's a question for you. And the day I can't answer the question, you go, actually, I'm going to find somebody new for my back pocket. Right? Because you don't fulfill the criteria. So what we're actually selling is time. And that time can come in the form of a product because somebody's invented it and created it and manufactured it and gone to China and got it made. It saves me having to do it. Listen, if I wanted to build a Ferrari, I could build a Ferrari, right? I could get the kit, I could get all the bits, but it'd probably take me 30 years. Or what I could do is work really hard at something I'm good at and go and earn the money to go to the bloke that builds Ferraris and buy a Ferrari off him. Now, actually, we are using money, which is in fact a form of time, money to convert my time into money. I then use that money to convert it back into time from other people. So actually what we're selling is time. So when you give away your intellect, your skill, your product, what you're actually doing is saying, listen, there's more where this came from. But by all means, have a go at this. Try it out. See if it works for you. If it works for you, there's more where this came from. I have spent my lifetime getting it right. Come to me, give me money, and I will give you everything I know. And actually, you won't have to spend anywhere near as much as it cost me, because it's cost me 35 years to get to here. You're going to get it in the next 5 minutes. Fantastic. I'll have that. And that's how it works. And then, until people work that out, and they won't really give to the marketplace, they won't give to their buyers.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Love that, absolutely. But to add to that, when you talk about, saving time, that's the same thing that Google is doing as well. If you want to save a bunch of time, just go on Google, you type whatever you want, and it comes. And you can see the companies like Amazon has got Alexa, Google has got the Google Home Kit, and that saves you time as well, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And actually, if you look at all the brands that have emerged from nowhere in the last 10 years, whether it's Airbnb, whether it's Expedia, whether
Uber.
it's Just Eat, Uber, all of these things, they're all really, it isn't the fact that they're all online. It's that if you really analyze those businesses, they do not produce the products or the service. Other people provide that. All they're doing is they're time-saving devices and brands to help you get to your favorite meal in a room, where you don't have, you save time. Instead of arguing about should we have Indian or Chinese or a burger or something from there, so you just say, well, we can have what we want, and then you just order it on Just Eat and all arrives at the same time. Wow, and that's what we're buying. It's just, I love it.
yeah, absolutely, Barnaby. I love the way this conversation is going right now. Now, I can see the shiny bucket behind you, and
yes,
talking about branding or brand, and all that, now you have your own company, and when you contacted me and I looked at you and I saw you with the bucket, I was wondering, like, what's this guy doing with this bucket? What's the whole thing, the whole idea behind this bucket? Now, can you tell us what the bucket is doing and why the bucket? Why the bucket brand company? Why is that?
So what happened was in 1985, there was a big advertising agency called HBB, Humphrey Ball Barker, that then was bought by Saatchi's and became KHBB, and they were approached by Saab to say, we would like to develop a marketing campaign to help launch the Saab 900. And they were asked to put together an engagement model specifically to buy Saab motor cars. And that engagement model, a gentleman called Stuart Ball worked on with a few colleagues of his, and they ended up with a six-step engagement model, which enabled people to map exactly where buyers are in the buyer journey. And they applied it to Saab, and it was used to launch the Saab 900. And then Stuart, who was head of the strategy in that agency, realized that there wasn't anything that this bucket methodology didn't work on. And so he applied it then as his career cornerstone. He then sold that agency entirely to Saatchi's. And when he was selling it to Morris and Charles Saatchi, he said, do you guys want the bucket? And they said, what do we need that for with the Saatchi brothers? We don't need that. So he took it away and he started the agency, which I then joined as becoming the youngest MD. So these 6 steps define absolutely precisely where a buyer is in the buyer journey at any given time. So it allows you as a brand owner, a business owner, to know exactly where you spend your time and money from a marketing perspective to build the relationship to a point where it converts into a sale, and then you look after it. So it is 6 steps. So rather weirdly, these 6 steps are on my bucket. So there you go. You can see those. So these are the 6 steps that we go through. So what we do is we create marketing plans that help you build, first of all, awareness. So you make yourself famous, and that's when you create your logo and your brand property and various things like that. The next thing is then you do image match. So what you do is you get people to like you because you're like them. Then what you do is you tell people exactly what it is you do, because they're emotionally engaged now. That's why there's a little heart there. They become rationally engaged. And at that point, that's when you communicate your benefits. Then what you do is you create a response with them. Actually, we call that a test drive, and that's what it was on the original Saab one. It was a test drive. So effectively what we were doing is you get people to have a go. That's when you give away as much as you can possibly afford and give people a go. And then you remove that from them. They go, no, don't go. And then they say, okay, well, you give us money. And so they give you money right here, right at this point. At that point, most marketing people go to lunch and say, we've done our job. We took a suspect. We turned them into a prospect. We've taken them from a cold to made them warm and then hot. And now you've converted them. We're going to lunch. Actually, what we learned from the research is this is when marketing really starts. So what you've got to do is make the experience of being a buyer amazing. We call that usage. And people like Apple have got this really well. The people who own an Apple phone keep the box. Why do you keep the box? Oh, because it's beautiful. That's why you keep it. You can't throw it away, right? It's a beautiful piece of work. It's just a box. And if you look at now what Nespresso do, and there's loads of people do amazing boxes now, because people realize if you go to posh shops, you get really nice shopping bags with string handles, and people don't throw them away. They're all part of what we call usage. And then what you must do is you must look after the people who buy from you, because the more you talk to them, the more you treat them well, the more you say thank you to them, they buy more stuff from you, but more importantly, they tell other people about you. So therefore, you've created a really nice marketing campaign where people start feeding back in the bucket. Now, of course, no matter how clever you are, you're going to lose people along the way, which is why it ends up this shape. So you've got more people who have probably heard of you than actually are loyal to you. So what happens is there's a whole metric numbers thing that sits behind that as well. So we have, as you know, to get one buyer, you need to run between 3 and 5 test drives. To get people to run a test drive, you need to communicate to 10 times that number, which is 30 to 50 people. And to get those, you need loads and loads of people coming into the top of the bucket who are already looking for you. So you gather them into your bucket, and then you offer them a test drive, and 10% or a proportion of them say those, and then what you do is you convert them through now. And that's how it works. It is brilliant. I mean, I don't mind telling you, when I first came across it, I just went, oh my goodness, that is so clever. So that's what I bought from Stuart when he retired in 2001, and I've been then working it ever since on, as I said, over 500 brands worldwide have all adopted this particular methodology. It is very, very clever.
That's brilliant, man. That's brilliant, Barnaby. I love that. Brilliant.
And it's available in my book called The Brand Bucket. Available on Amazon right now.
That's good. Love that. You just from what you just said right now, like when I look at companies like offer like insurance or the broadband, let's say Sky or BT or whatever, when they have you as a customer, because you mentioned something about making the customer happy, keeping the customer.
Yeah.
I don't see them doing that, because you can be with Sky for odd number of years, 5, 10 years, and you're just there. And it's only when you ring them up and say, you know what, I'm tired of your service, I want to leave now, and they call you, oh, wait, don't go. We can give you this, Why do you think companies don't offer you things, to keep you as a customer, to make you happy? Why do you think they don't do that?
Well, I think what's been fascinating about what we're watching as a result of the pandemic,
COVID, yeah.
The COVID, is these big businesses are fundamentally flawed. They're all about the numbers. So they are owned by shareholders, and all they're looking for is return on investment. And actually, the individual buyer is not important in that. What's important is there are lots of buyers, and what they have acknowledged is that they've got a leaky bucket. Yeah. And so what they do is they're spending a vast amount of money getting more people into the top of the bucket, knowing that they're going to lose people along the way. Yeah, that is their business model. They accept that they are not going to place any investment in keeping people. They're going to place all their investment in pouring people into the top of the bucket. So what you will see is loads and loads of advertising, loads of incentives to join these companies and all that sort of thing, because their business model is keep pouring people in, because their investors and their shareholders are stupid. They don't realize that actually keeping people is a much easier thing than getting new people. So if you're an investor and you've invested in any of these big companies and you're sat at home watching television, you see ads and you think, yeah, I'm invested in this company. They're really active, and they're really good, and they're looking after my money. And the shareholder price is being held up as a result of lots and lots of new people coming in. What you're actually advocating is switching. They're switching from Vodafone to O2, and then they're switching from O2 to another provider, and then they're going back to Vodafone, and they're just swirling around. So everybody's just swirling around the market. They're not growing the market. They're not creating more penetration. And to be fair, I don't know if you know the numbers of businesses in the UK. So there are, I'll explain them. There are 5.9 million businesses in the UK, currently registered at this moment's time. How many of those do you think employ more than 250 people, Kez? So of 5.9 million businesses, how many of those do you think employ more than 250 people? I
don't think a lot of them.
Go on then, give me a number though.
2% of that number?
2%. So 2% is okay, now you're making me do the math. So 5.9, that's 2% is 200,000. So that's about 100,000, isn't it? Roughly.
They're about that,
Yeah, about 100,000. Okay, so the actual answer is 7,600.
Oh.
So there are 7,600 companies that employ more than 250 people. There are 4.2 million companies that employ no one at all. Like me, I'm a limited company. I've been a limited company for 10 years. I have no employees. I'm just the director, so I don't qualify as an employee. So there are 4.2 million businesses that have no employees. There's another 1.2 million businesses that employ less than 10 people, but when you work out how many people they actually employ, it works out at about 3 people per company. So 5.4 million businesses have 3 people or less working in them. Now, when you think about that, we should ignore the big companies. We shouldn't be reading any case studies about them. We shouldn't be going to conferences where the vice president of Virgin or O2 is giving some spiel about how to run a business. They have no idea how to run a business like yours and mine. They're just no idea whatsoever. And they are flawed because they are simply machines that keep pouring more stuff into the top and letting it all pour out of the bottom. So, and they're old school models, which is why in COVID we're seeing them laying off loads of people, furloughing people, generally, whether it's British Airways or whatever. These models are broken, right? Absolutely bad systems, bad orientation, don't acknowledge that there's any requirement to look after buyers whatsoever. No interest in that because they just say, we're here. Now, if you want to get an airplane and you want to fly to Paris, you've only got a choice of 6 airlines, and British Airways is one of them. So tough. You're going to put up. You're going to have to. It's old school. We're the brand owners. You do it our way. Gone. Finished. We don't find that acceptable anymore. Any of us. And your generation, the generations, the younger generations, will just simply not accept that. They will do anything but use those sorts of organisations. So as far as I'm concerned, I think they're flawed. Because in the end, majority of business is done by people who need to build relationships, and they need to really be strong, and they need to hold on them because they're really hard to find, really hard to get. And once you've got them, you've got to look after them. And that's what the brand bucket model is really specialist at. It's designed in such a way as you cannot, as a business owner, ignore people who buy from you because it's 2 of the 6 steps.
Yeah, Barnaby, I love that. I also love what you're doing as well, and giving me all these illustrations and with the bucket and all that, it's giving me it's a whole different game right now, because I've interviewed a lot of people, but with you now, you saw like, I can see the whole experience, everything is just going in a direction, which I totally love, and now in terms of, relationships and value, I'm bringing all that together in building your company, how have you managed to make that work within the brand company?
So I'm very fortunate. So having run a top 200 agency for 10 years, I found it a real struggle. I don't mind telling you. I was working 17 hours a day. I live outside London, so I was commuting into London. Our offices were in Clerkenwell. I had 25 staff. We had 60 to 100 clients at any given time. It was really hard graft. And marketing fundamentally changed between when I bought the company in 2001 and 2010. So I found that, and I was spending a significant proportion of my time as the business owner dealing with people issues. Yeah, so people who were ill, or had ill members of the family, or had to go off, or whatever, or just weren't happy at work, and all that sort of thing. And what that does is that distracts you from the core of what you're good at. I also made a big mistake, and the big mistake I made, and it's weird. I'm a big fan of an author called Michael Gerber, who wrote one of the most famous business books of all time, which is called The E-Myth, the entrepreneur myth. And essentially what it says is there are no such things as entrepreneurs. And that sounds a bit weird for me to say that, given that I'm a founding freeman of the Guild of Entrepreneurs, which is a new guild in the City of London. But there is no such thing as an entrepreneur. Most businesses are started by technicians, people who are good at something. And therefore what they do is they build a business. But what you do, and I made this mistake, is as a technician, as a marketing technician, you build systems and processes around you of which you are a key part. And the end result of that is you can never extricate yourself from the systems and processes, because they rely on you in some shape or form. That's what technicians do. They build systems and processes, call them businesses, where they are instrumental. They're part of the whole, they're a cog inside the whole system. The trouble with that is you can never stop. You can never go on holiday. You can never create a machine that works on its own. And I made this mistake. So I was running this agency, and the reason why I was working 17 hours a day is because everything in the agency had to go across my desk, because I was the owner. I was stressed. I didn't want people to put the wrong work out. I didn't want people to get things wrong. I wanted all the invoicing done, everything. So everything came across my desk, including whether we should get more photocopier paper for the photocopy or whatever. That came across my desk. So you can imagine you get very stressed. You're very busy. And although I was young and I was thriving, I didn't realize the impact it had on me. The trick, therefore, is you've got to build a system and a process which you are not a part of. And that's what E-Myth is all about. It's all about how you build systems and processes where you as the technician, you as the business owner, have no role in the system and process at all. And the moment you've done that, you can scale the business very quickly, because you can get other people or software or machines or whatever to do the job that you used to do. And so the trick when you're growing a business is to create a machine that works without you. So what I did when I closed the offices in London is that year that I spent moving everything to the cloud was I designed a business that doesn't need me in it. Now, what's interesting about that is if I'm not in it, there's no business, because I'm the business. There's only me. So there's the thing. But the business itself runs itself. So I have set up spreadsheets and bring forward files and things online and things like that tell me what I'm doing with my time, whether I'm using it efficiently, whether I'm making money from a particular client or whether I'm not, how many leads I've got going on at the moment, how many proposals I've got out going at the moment, how many marketing activities I've got. All of that is all automated. So all I have to kind of do is run the show. And I tell you what it reminds. I don't know if you're. So I was a small boy when we went to the moon. I'm a big space fan. Yeah, if I was young enough, I'd still want to be an astronaut. It was kind of one of those things. And I watched the recent SpaceX trip up to the space station. I watched the launch live, I watched the spacewalk live, and I watched the landing live. All because it's all on NASA TV. It's fantastic, amazing what they do. But Bob Bankin and Doug Hurley, the two pilots, the two astronauts that went up, when they came back to Earth, did almost nothing. So they're sat in this funny little capsule, flying through the atmosphere, and they land in parachutes, and it's first sea landing since Apollo 17 or something like that. All very exciting, blah blah blah. But they did nothing. They just sat there. Now you'd think, okay, well, don't they fly it? Don't they steer it? Don't they do? No, because everything has been automated, and you've got to, as a business owner, find a way of making sure that all you're doing is watching all the dials and watching everything working, watching your dashboards, making sure that everything in your business is doing exactly what you want it to do against your business plan. So if you know that you've set your target as getting 10 buyers in a year to pay you £25,000, and therefore you're going to end up with a business that's 250 grand at the end of the year, and you take costs off and everything, have you got the machine working, getting you the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one, and is that what you do? And so I think the big difference between what I do now, which is I have my 5 clients, my 7 clients, my 19 mentees. I get every day people email me and say, will you be my mentor? And then we have a chat, and then I decide whether we're going to work together well, and then we sign up, and then we agree. And then I have an automated booking system, so they can just book in when they want to talk and things like that. And so my diary just fills up with appointments. And I wake up in the morning, I go, who am I talking to today? And then everybody's got their own individual file, and everything works like, a SpaceX spaceship going up to the space station and coming back down again. And that's how you do it. And it's great fun, because if I think, well, I don't really want to work today, I don't.
Absolutely, man. I love that. And one of the things that I'm taking from what you're saying right now is that when you have a system that works, put a system in place, that's also good for your mental health as well, because it's not just going to be all about work and trying to just strive, and put your 101% into it, and building a system that work, like you rightly say right now, would actually give you a time off, time with your family, and time to just do your own thing as well, because you need that right mental balance to keep things going as an entrepreneur and as a business owner as well, right?
I don't know if you subscribe to the concept of work-life balance. I think it's complete nonsense. It's actually it's part of the conspiracy of the big corporates that we were talking about. They want you to go and clock in at 9:30 and clock out at 5:30 and work for them to make their shareholders money. So they created this idea of work-life balance, right? It's absolute nonsense, right? You get one life. That's it, just one life. And it's yours, and it doesn't belong to anybody else. It's your life. So what you've got to do is you've got to design your life in the way that's going to make you feel fulfilled and make you feel, and as you rightly say, from a mental health point of view, you feel like you're in control of. Yeah. So I'm of the opinion that I only do what I love doing. And if I love spending time with my family, I'll go and spend time with my family. If I love creating a new big idea for one of my buyers, then I'm going to spend time doing that at the expense of my family. Yeah, because that's what makes me feel alive. And I think you can design your life in such a way as you get to do everything. And if you like cycling or swimming or mountaineering, or I'm a big football fan, so I go and watch football a lot when that's on. All of these things are all built into my life. They're all scheduled, they all have time, they're all negotiated. And in exactly the same way as you run your business, you should run your life. You shouldn't let people down. You should, all of those sorts of things. And when you're doing that, I think your mental health stays with you. Now, I appreciate that for many people, there are outside factors that are very, very difficult to control. And I accept that. But what you've got to do is you've got to put in systems and processes to control those, to get away from them, to find time, even if it's 5 minutes, walking around the park or something like that. There are ways of doing that, but you have to build it as a system and process. Don't expect life to owe you anything. It doesn't owe you anything. You've got to work at every element of it. So actually, life is work, and work is life. You've got to work at everything. You've got to work at your relationships with your loved ones. You've got to work your relationships with your children, in particularly as they grow up, as you'll find, they grow up and become adults in their own right. You've got to really work at that, because they're not what you expected, and because you want them to be individuals and go out and do their own thing. So you have this crazy thing where you try and teach your children to be independent, and then the moment they behave independently, you get upset and say, you're not treating us fairly. This is very confusing. Parenting is the whole thing. But there's a system to it. And I think I'm very systems and processes oriented. I think you can do that. And the advantage of being in charge of the systems and processes, you can run them at any speed, dynamically, you can mix them up. And that's, I think, how you maintain mental health.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, I love that, man. So apart from building processes and trying to grow your business, trying to do all that, how do you have fun? What other things do you do that makes you happy? I know dropping this now, and I know you're a football fan, you're a Chelsea fan. Likewise, me as well. I'm also a Chelsea fan as well. But apart from watching football and doing all that, what other things you do that makes you have that, it keeps that mental health balance, and trying to just forge on and trying to renew your energy to say.
I'm very fortunate to have a very, very positive and happy demeanor. I'm an only child. My father was an only child, so I grew up in a very so I've learned to entertain myself a lot. But the things, there are all sorts of different levels to that question. From a family perspective, I want to make sure that my family are always happy and where they want to be. So I will do everything in my energy to enable them to do that. Actually, often against my own intuition, but actually, so they go out with a positive demeanor. So at a family level, that's important. I have a beautiful property, and so therefore there's a lot of work there. So I do a lot of DIY, and that makes me very happy. So at a private level, I then obviously there's going out with friends and going to the football and things like that. That's another area that makes me happy. But probably the thing that makes me happiest, and I often see this in a lot of other people, is giving away stuff. Giving away my time, my expertise, my energy to other people. And I saw a speaker once who stood up on stage and said that the more I give, I can't carry what people give back to me. And what you find is if you give other people stuff, what happens is they give you stuff in return, but they often give you more than you gave them, or maybe they don't realize they're doing that. So actually what you create is this ecosystem of giving, where you just give people whatever you can. And for me, I do a lot of pro bono work. So I'm building a school in Africa, and I'm raising money for that. And it's going to be in Uganda, and I'm nearly there. So that's £30,000. I've done that by just doing various fundraising exercises, and selling a bit of my time in exchange for things. I also work for the Guild of Entrepreneurs. So I do a load of outreach work with young entrepreneurs through London Business School, and I do speeches, and I mentor young children in schools and things like that to help them understand what it might be like to be in business, or to be in business and start up. I speak a lot at a lot of events where I don't get paid. I do get paid a lot, but in other events. And every time I do that, I just feel that bit better about myself. I feel good. I feel like I'm having a positive impact on the outside world. So for me, it's about creating an ecosystem of giving. The more you give, the more people give stuff back, because they want you to be successful. They want you to be there when they need help or they need something. So they give back to you to keep you going. And I think business is true. If you look after the people who buy from you, they buy more stuff because they want you to be there when they want to buy again. And it's that kind of ecosystem that keeps my mental health, keeps me happy, makes me want to get up in the morning and just, who can I make a difference for today?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that, and to add to that as well, for me, I think giving is better than receiving, because when you give, in a way, you just open certain doors that, like you said right now, when you give us stuff, you tend to receive more than you can carry, which I think is right as well, and I think you're doing a great work right here, you're doing good. Your journey so far has been good. Looked at you, and everything is working well for you, and this interview as well, for me, is going to definitely improve my personal development. I've, getting a lot from this conversation right now. So Ernest, what would be the one thing that you want people to take away from this? Because a lot of people have been listening to you and I said, he said this one thing and I really, really held on to it. What would be that one thing?
You must believe that you are amazing. Don't let anyone tell you you are not amazing. There is something that you have learned, that you've become in your life, which makes you a subject matter expert in that thing. And it might not have been a particularly positive thing. I'm working with with a mentee who was bullied at work and lost 5 years of her life from bullying because she lost a job and all that sort of thing, but is now got a business helping other people avoid bullying and things like that. So there are lots of ways that you can turn a negative situation, but you have become a subject matter expert. And then what you do is you take that subject matter expertise and you put it at the heart of your value proposition, and you build a business around your subject matter expertise, whatever that is, and stick to that. Do not pivot. Do not listen to all the people around you say, oh, you should do this, you should do that. Do what only you can do, and make that the core of your value proposition, and start with a value proposition, because I can assure you that once you have clarity on that, you can build the plan, you can build the business, you can build the network, you can build the buyers, you can build everything onto. But if you don't have that foundation of actually knowing what you are on the planet to do, what you're special at, and there is a reason for that, build it around that. And my one thing that I would recommend is just find that one thing that only you can do, that, you know, and then build whatever it is you're going to make a difference to the world with enabling people to save time getting to where you are as a subject matter expert, and buy that from you in whatever form you choose to do that. And you will have a successful business, in my opinion.
Yeah, thanks for that, man. I love that, man. Absolutely, I love that. You know, and for me as well, you know, this interview, I didn't really, you know, expect what I'm getting right now, because there's so much value, you know, so much experience. You know, you're telling me so many things that, you know, personally I've been struggling with. You know, because like you know, starting like podcasts, you know, starting businesses, it's not always an easy journey. You know, you need people to come along the way that would guide you, sort of like in terms of mentorship as well, you know. But now this whole interview, you know, it's been value to me, you know. I must really say, you know, I'm really say, you know, it's been good, you know, it's been good having you on this show, you know. And if people want to get in touch with you, you know, what would be the best place for them to get in touch with you?
Well, so there's lots of ways. You just have to type my name into the interweb. So it's Barnaby Wynter with a Y, Wynter, just to be awkward. And there's a story attached to that. So it's Barnaby Wynter. If you type that into Google, you'll probably find me. But actually, my website is www.barnabywynter.com. And then you can connect me through that. Or just look me up on LinkedIn. If you look up Barnaby Wynter with a Y on LinkedIn, there I am. And there's many of the things I've talked about in its glorious history, all beautifully laid out in LinkedIn style. Just connect me through me on LinkedIn. I tend to accept most invites, and we can start communicating on Messenger there, and then move across onto email. And, you know, happy to talk about mentoring, happy to talk about helping you build your business, whatever helps people. I'm willing to help. And see where it goes.
Yeah, good, absolutely. So guys, yeah, it is, you know, so much value for me, you know, and I hope this brings you value as well. You know, I know it will anyway, because it's so much value for me, you know. Thanks for the time, Barnaby, and I'm also grateful as well.
No, Kez, it's been a real pleasure, and a real pleasure to work with you.